Hey, how's y'all doing, everybody? This is your host, once again, the Whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and welcome to Black Minds News Report. First and foremost, I want to say what's good to my fam and that agent sitting up in the house. What kind of job that is? You sit up around and listen to people that you hate. Ain't no different than, probably is like them, the ones that be riding around in them cars, though. But anyway, first of all, I want to say what's good to y'all for clicking on the video again. You know what they're going to do. They're going to cut me off, right? Right? You got to ask yourself, boy, what is it that Mr. Blows Your Mind say that agitate these people? It's not the type of individual that would be around you. Is that what makes you upset? I don't know what that is, because I'm affable with anybody. But, you know, you got real friends, they're going to pull you by your coattail. But anyway, welcome to another Black Minds News episode. Passerbys happen to come through either because of the title of the show, or maybe it's because of the thumbnail of the show. Go down the aisle, happen to see something to make you feel some kind of way. Remember, the motto of my show is the truth don't need no partner, right? So he done ran up out the room, right? But that's how they do it, you know what I'm saying? They get these jobs, using their jobs to facilitate some of the stuff that feel from within oneself, right? And then abuse it and just say, it's just my job. Is it really just your job, or is it just something in you that because people don't fit this certain criteria that you say according to the way you write your script, if I don't fit according to that, then you don't like me. You ain't cut from my club and you ain't from where I'm from. So I don't worry about people like that. But anyway, my whole thing is this. You know, I was doing a show. You might have seen that show. They cut me off again. I started getting into it. And I guess they think because they do that, they cut you off your build. It's not that you cut me off my build. It's just the fact that, tell you that truth, that it does that. That's what it does, man. You know, they say the word was, and the word was in the beginning. Well, the Creator gave a certain people the word. And that word is that truth. And sometimes that truth cuts in some ways that it's like, you can't take it. So you have a little bit of power and you abuse your power and use it to try to get rid of the voice. No, you can do that. You had the power to do that. But, in the end, right? In the end, it ain't going to be what you think it's going to be. So anyway, I'm going to come with this second part here. And I want to go ahead and get into this because I had seen an article. And in this article was talking about the fact that it was talking about gentrification, right? Gentrification. You know what gentrification is, right? So, the effects of gentrification and we as BADOS, Black Americans in this land, and how when people use the term racism, and a lot of our people like say, well, I'm not racist. You can't be racist because you don't have the power to determine, to prevent people that even though you don't hate, you're not racist against. But if you were to use that power, could you keep them up out of there? No, you don't. You might have a business, own a couple of little properties and things, but as a system, you do not have, right? So somebody has a system that they have been sneakily, as that's a word, if it's not, I just created it, but sneakily been doing things that may be unknown to many of us. And so as being a part of the black media, it is my job to make sure that I try to bring some kind of information according to the things that I seek on the daily to provide for on this show. You see that I'm starting to come back live, right? I didn't think I was going to do that, but I had to do it anyway. So anyway, let me go ahead and give you the picture where we're going to go with this, right? So you see on your screen there, right? The gentrification zone. Poor people, please leave quietly. Let me say that again. Gentrification zone. Poor people, please leave quietly. Well, there was a article that I seen earlier today that came out, and it was talking about how this ex-Atlanta cop, he was quitting his job over gentrification. He said it was like a mafia system. Let me say that again. There was an ex-cop who used to work for Atlanta. He quit his job because his job was doing gentrification. He said it was like a mafia system. Okay? And so here's somebody who is inside one of the tentacles of the system. The one that they say we like to cry victim. The one they say that these things are just a figure of our imagination. That there is no such thing. It does not exist. But here's a person who is, let's just say he's Caucasian, right? And he wants to do a good thing by providing this story. So, this Atlanta cop, he had revealed in his law enforcement career, he abruptly quit this job because while he was in protest of what they call gentrification arrest. Gentrification arrest. Can you believe that, right? And so, as being part of the Atlanta Police Department, he had learned that working with local building developers, right, that he realized that there was a correlation working between those who were the developers in Atlanta and that which was of the police department of Atlanta. And they had this, what they say that we have a figure of our imagination, but they had a plot to evict black residents to aid in the gentrification. And so here it is, this white individual who was an ex-police officer, he wanted to go and he told this story that I'm relaying to you. And he resigned as a police officer. Now, accordingly, he had been on the police force about 3 years. He's 49-year-old. Name is Tom Gisler. All right, Tom Gisler. He's a former officer, as I'm telling you, and the fact that he found out through the instructions of heavy police in these areas that had these apartment complex. In one of the cities he talked about in the 4th Ward section, and said most of the people who resided there, who they is, y'all? Who they gonna be? You know who they is, right? So they were black, right? We know that, right? It's not nothing new, right? It's only people who try to deny the fact of what the stuff is, right? And so he was talking about how he was talking about on his beat and how on his beat that he was policing, a section that he had talked about, I think it was like Boulevard and Ponce de Leon, right? You know your history, you know who that cat was, right? But anyway, this was in the Bedford Pines apartment. And he started there, working there about like in 2017. So he left the force back in July of this year. And that he was sharing his he said he was sharing his information with the tow car companies, right? And what it was is the fact that they were taking people who were living in these areas, they were towing their cars, running background checks on them, and they were also putting people in custody. Let me say that again. Remember old Tom Gisler, right? 49-year-old, worked for the Atlanta Police Department. Now he's an ex-cop. And wrote an essay in the paper talking about how his superiors had informed him that they needed to tow cars, run background checks, and to take people into custody because of why? As you see on your screen, they was creating gentrification zones. Poor people, please leave quietly. And so, you know, they would say things like, "We believe there's dope boys out there." Right? You know the term. You know the stereotypes that we all sell drugs, or you know how they do. Now, again, I know that doesn't blanket because again, it depends on the content of certain of our characters. That if you have a certain aura, a certain way they look, it's a good one. Oh, come on, yeah. You're one of us. You like remember and Do the Right Thing when it was like Bruce, no, Prince, Bruce. He's not kind of like they're black, but they're not like, that black, right? You know those kind y'all like, right? Well, anyway. So, goes on, he talks about the fact that they would put signs up that you can't park on the street, go and write tickets on every single car that's on the street. Now, that's another thing, too. As I was talking in the video prior to this, when I was trying to relay that somebody, again, who working for YouTube, who's sitting amongst who his job is to be an agent, and then they get hot under the collar when they hear you saying some things that they don't like. So what they're going to do is they're going to pull the plug on you, right? See, that just go to tell you, right, that some things is just what it is, right? That it's getting to the core of you, right? Well, okay, whatever. But again, we as black people, black America, descended of slavery in this country, when you're talking about the system, statistically, they tell you that we're more incarcerated, right? We have a lot of interactions. We get a lot of tickets, right? So it's like black folks know a lot about dealing with police, right? It's just natural with us because it just kind of go back in our history when you talk about the origins of police and we talk about patty rollers and we as BADOS and the fact that, somehow they kind of like go hand in hand, right? I would be classified with some kind of mental disease if I tried to run away, right? They call it drapetomania, right? Something wrong with it. You're trying to get away from me. Why are you trying to get away? Maybe because can you deal with it too? But no, that's another topic for another time. But anyway, so we see that here it is, they were doing this. Now again, those who come from certain areas, how, when it's time to, one thing to live in a congested area where it's already hard to get a damn parking spot, that sometimes the old way we used to do, which is you keep riding around the block, eventually somebody gonna come out and then you try to squeeze and get in the parking lot. Now, if you live in an area where a lot of people don't have vehicles, then that may not be your problem. But then if you know what I'm talking about, if you're from what I'm talking about, I had to keep going around the block, circling the block, hoping to get somebody to get in. Then, then when they come with that tow, put the sign out there with this side, left side, and then we're going street sweep. So now it's hard to find. So then you go out there and then you forget that they coming, and here they come. $500 tickets, $250 tickets, towing your car, then you got to go get impounded. You know what I'm saying? So it's like money, Money has always been made off of us, right? So here he is, he's kind of like revealing something that to us, it ain't really new, but the other folks who might be hearing this might be new to you. It might be new to you hearing something like this. But anyway, that's just what he was saying. And the fact that he said that, residents, after receiving these kind of tickets, they would get very explicit and direct with him, right? Now, see, that's what I say, some people would use the term, oh, you're angry. Why are you so angry? Well, you understand, you don't go through the frustrations and the environments that I come up out of. So to you, it just looked like somebody just angry for no reason. But there's always a cause and effect to what you see. It don't just be naturally just somebody just angry for nobody just get up now there is some people, don't get it twisted though. There is some people who get up every day and they just mad, angry at the damn world because just ain't been good, ain't been kind to them. But there's some people because it's a cause and effect. And some of you know, but again, that's not part of your, environment, your understanding, comprehension of the world. So again, you come to the world whistling, you come to work whistling and Dixie doo. You want me coming in saying zippity doo dah. It ain't zippity doo dah where I'm coming from. You understand? But anyway. So, he goes on, he talks more about the fact that, again, they're getting explicit directive within the residents of the area, you know what I'm saying? So he would try to give some insight to the community. He tried to tell them, this is what's going down, you know what I'm saying? And he was telling them that from his insight, what he was learning was the fact that the homeowners were telling the officers that were owning some of the complexes that they wanted to tear down those buildings because the city planners were going to build So they kind of seen the future coming. And so here it is, you got these people who you don't want amongst you. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to figure out a way that you say legal, talking with the police. If you could just help me, to kind of get rid of them, that would, do me good, and I can actually pad your pocket. And so he was saying the fact that they would be doing things like, well, raising rents on residents, right? Helping certain tenants to get arrested. Ain't that something? Bad enough you got it as it is. Then somebody actually putting more salt on the damn wound, whispering, sending a kite to the police, trying to get you with some kind of felony so that he could just get you out of there. Do you think about that? Huh? See? But we make all this stuff up, right? But again, this is coming out of an article that I read, right? So he said the homeowners in the area will be very frank with him about this, right? And he said one time he had remembered the fact that there was an individual who had a tax bill that came to him. And his taxes was being assessed based on all the gentrification that was happening in the area, right? So I guess he was getting a bigger tax bill because everybody else was getting taken out of there. So he wanted to move everybody out of these apartments and knock them down, right? So he figured like, well, shit, I could benefit just on the property, or not the property, but just the land, tear the building down, the land, and the people who trying to, build, let me go ahead and sell it. But the problem is I got these people in the building. You know what I'm saying? You're hindrance to me. You're stopping me from going ahead and getting this bag. So can you imagine that? You ain't got, wait a minute, all the time before there was gentrification, oh, that was okay then. It was okay when they were paying their rent and keeping that money in your pocket. But now suddenly that you see a pot of gold at the end of the damn rainbow, oh, wait a minute, I got to get you up out of here. Let me figure out a way to get your ass up out of here, right? Anyway, so here it was. They doing all this stuff here. The area becoming more gentrified. And he wanted everybody out. And then there was around little places was starting to build up more nice little expensive apartments. And so he felt like, well, maybe I should do this. But then he said the government told him, no, you can't do that. He said, well, okay, maybe I just increased the rent. And so then the HUD came in and was like, no, the Section 8 people from HUD was like, no, you can't do that. Now, that's what part of this program is. So he was like, man, I'm in a dilemma. So I can't do that either, huh? So what am I thinking about I'm going to do here? Huh? What I'm going to do? All right? I'll let you sit on that for a minute. Let's take this quick little break and be right back. Check this out, y'all. Hold on. Go ahead and do that. Be right back. Ain't no speech. Do it. All right, we are back. Right, so this giver says that he said the only way to evict the person if they wanted to be convicted, you got to get them a felony. Now, we talking about the people who was in the Section 8, right? Some of us, we know about that. Some of us come up out of them systems. Some of us still in that system, right? I don't think it's kind of high unless you're a female. But anyway, so they was going to put felonies on people. Because you don't get a felony, you get kicked out the program. So, putting you in jail. Can you imagine that? This cat is like put you in jail so that he can benefit. Not thinking about how that's going to affect you, your life, those who are dependent upon you. And all. See, everybody got this underlying agenda in their nature, in their heart, soul, and in their spirit. But then when we want to expose this, they get mad at us and say that you guys are always complaining, bitching, and moaning. But the truth be, it is what it is, right? And so, then again, he decided to say, well, you know what? Let me go see if this is true, man. Let me go find out if this what they really doing in here, right? Because he was saying that building owners allegedly enlist the police for support in their displacement efforts. Oh, wait a minute. So it was somewhere, it was some little kind of cahoots where the police is going to be riding up in the neighborhood. Got their eyes on those who live in a certain area and always harassing and pulling you over, and running your background, seeing if you got some kind of warrant. Hopefully that they hit the jackpot, because not for the simple fact that they're going to get that arrest, the fact that somebody else is also cutting some, you know what I'm saying, cut some money in their pocket. So Gillard said he went to, he wanted to learn more information about this. So he went to the higher ups. Say, is this real? He went to the higher, is this real? So he go to the supervisor. The supervisor looked at him like, what are you, stupid? He said, why else would you think we'd be doing this? Let me say that again. Now, Tom Gisler said he couldn't believe that here was the building owner was telling him, like, hey, ain't you supposed to be trying to help me? But these people over here, and he like, what you talking about? He's like, you on the list. You supposed to be helping me to get some of these, Negroes up out of there. Man, I don't know nothing about that. So he went to the higher up supervisors. They told him, no, what you stupid boy? You don't know this how we make our money? Now, most of us don't know that, right? But it is what it is, right? And so here it was, he said that they had made it clear. They were locking up people for minor drug stuff. And so he said all this experience opened his eyes to realizing law enforcement, as he says, is a shitty mafia system. Let me say that again. It was, he said that it was clear to him that they had to lock people up for minor drug stuff. And when he started realizing all the stuff that they were doing, it opened his eyes to realizing about law enforcement. And he said, as he's quoted saying, there's a shitty mafia system. And so this is where it opened his eyes, and he started realizing that this is institutional racism, right? Now he was, right? He said, here I am. I wasn't, I'm not political or anything like that. Wasn't a white person in this. He was looking at, there wasn't a white person in none of these complexes. So he like, damn, shit has to be strictly about them. And so he said most of the people that were living in there were like single black girls who were just, trying to make it. Make their way in the world. And here I am, he's saying, he reflected on himself. Now here I am. My job is to be clocking in to go to work every day, to do my job, but actually I'm doing harm. Let me say that again. Look at that reflection. Look at this honesty. One has to look at himself and say, what I'm doing, this is how I'm buttering my bread. But while I'm buttering my bread, but look at what I'm doing to other people. And some people don't believe in karma, right? They don't believe that what go around come around. Old Tom Gisler did, right? So he said, wait a minute, I clock in to work every day. Only people in this community seem like, single black girls are trying to raise their children, do the right thing, trying to find themselves in the world. And here I'm doing, if I'm doing any kind of good work, I'm actually doing real harm. So he had quit. And when he quit the job, guess what happened? He said it was a lot of retaliation because he was leaving the department. So what they started doing is using the system against him. Claims of child abuse on him, animal abuse, made against him. We'll use the system, won't put it on him, right? You know too much. And so you're going to go out here and you're going to tell. We know you're going to tell. You already didn't ask questions, right? So here it was. He was thinking he ended up going to, he went to somebody. I forgot what was the name of the place he went. He went to somebody to write an article. I think it was called Mother Jones Report. That's where he went. Yeah, I think it was Mother Jones Report. And he was relaying once again about the parking ticket issues and any vehicles that was being impounded. And then he said that they was partnered with private security at locations to issue criminal trespass orders to non-residents that were suspected to be involved in a aforementioned crime. Let me say that again. Listen carefully. He talked about, once again, they'd be writing parking ticket issues on any vehicle that was impound, and then they will partner up with a security at the location and issue criminal trespass orders to non-residents that were suspected and involved in the aforementioned crimes. Orders to stop citizens, perform background checks, and any standing on the sidewalk were given citations. Okay? They said, well, wait a minute, Mr. Blowmind. Wait a minute. Why? Okay, I hear the story. Why are you talking about this? Well, there's something I want y'all to know. Because this here is kind of like something that is underneath that you didn't know about, what something you heard the other day. So let me kind of show you, give you this news story that I seen. I'm going to give you this and I'll be right back. Check this. I'll be right back just to give you some info. Check it out.
Well, now members of Metro Council are calling on Mayor Fisher for transparency, saying he needs to acknowledge the accusations by Breonna Taylor's attorney that her death stemmed from a real estate development plan. Now, as the push for information continues, tonight we're hearing new audio that provides new details on the night that she was killed. The moments after Breonna Taylor was shot and killed, captured on camera and posted on her sister's Facebook page. Police talking to her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker.
We're just trying to find out what happened.
I don't even know what happened. Oh, wow.
Full audio interviews with Walker and LMPD Sergeant John Mattingly are giving us a better picture of what happened that night, taped just hours after the shooting. Here's Walker.
All you can hear is a knock at the door. Even if somebody was saying something on the other side, you probably couldn't hear them. Mm-hmm. But as loud as we were screaming to say who it is, I know whoever would be on the other side of the door could hear us.
Walker says he and Taylor were watching a movie in bed when the knock started. 2 weeks later, in an interview with Sergeant Mattingly, he was also asked about the approach to the apartment.
I knocked on the door, banged on it. We didn't announce the first couple because our intent was not to hit the door. Our intent was to give her plenty of time to come to the door because they said she was probably there alone.
Mattingly says they didn't announce themselves at first, but did after 6 or 7 knocks.
And as I turned the doorway, he's in a stretched out position with his hands with a gun, and as soon as I clear, he fires. Boom.
As police were trying to knock down the door, Walker says he thought someone was breaking in.
So I just let off one shot. Like, I still can't see who it is or anything.
During the interviews, Mattingly admits they thought Taylor would be alone because they, quote, knew where their target was.
You guys just considered this location as, and I've heard this a couple times throughout this investigation, as a soft target.
Right.
It seems they were referring to suspect Jamarcus Glover, who wasn't there. Just last weekend, Taylor's attorneys accused LMPD of targeting Glover to clear out homes on Elliott Avenue.
I hope that the entire situation is not true.
They were referring to Vision Russell, and now 8 Metro Council members have sent a letter to Mayor Greg Fisher asking for any and all documents regarding a special police unit called Place-Based Investigations.
Do I believe that the city has ever done anything to clear out neighborhoods? Yes. Do I believe they've done that in this particular instance? I have no idea.
The mayor did acknowledge that the police unit works in the neighborhood.
Elliott Avenue is part of a place-based investigation. In terms of any specific property on that, there was no conversation with my office on that.
But continued to stress there are no other agendas.
I was dumbfounded to see the linkage of this initiative here of trying to rebuild this block with safe and affordable housing was somehow tied into a nefarious objective with Breonna Taylor's tragedy. So let me give you a little background.
Now, today, the mayor said that based on the FBI investigation and other ongoing investigations in the death of Breonna Taylor, he's not able to release any information that would impede on those investigations. But if there is anything else that he is able to release, he says that he will do so. Live in downtown Louisville for the Night Team.
All right, so we back, right? So it says lawyer alleged Breonna Taylor's house was targeted because of gentrification plan. Let me say that again. Lawyers allege Breonna Taylor's house was targeted because of gentrification plans, right? Now, this part of the story is nobody heard about, right? We didn't know that this existed, but somehow it fell out, but it was not part of the reason, really, because everybody kept trying to ask themselves, what was they going there for? What was the whole point of that? Okay, we keep hearing search warrant, but search warrant for what? Well, maybe once I tell you this, you might get it. Okay? So, accordingly, the lawyer of the family of Breonna Taylor, which we know after the $12 million, they're now probably not going to be able to say too much else, but they said that they allege that the police squad responsible for her death was known as place-based investigation. Because if you're an avid watcher of my show here, we did when I originally did the Breonna Taylor, I didn't do it when it originally did, but later on, when I did do it was when I think it was the information that came out by the investigation of the officers, right? I think that was the first time I did it. And then they had released the interview and the stuff that had been said in there, right? And then I remember something being stated again. If you should go and listen to that, you'll hear it'll be kind of discombobulating you because they got two interviews going at the same time, and you have to ask yourself why they did that. But in that, if you listen carefully, you're going to hear you're going to hear him say place-based investigation. And I think that was the origin of this, right? And so accordingly, they talk about this place-based investigation. It was deliberately misled narcotic detectives to target her home. So they saying basically it was this place-based investigation, because remember when you heard him say that the people who were out there with him that night were not part of his normal unit. When you go back and you also look at the fact when they talked about, remember they were talking about the packages, right? It really was just one time of the package that they had any real knowledge of. But it was that, and then the post office, and then there was supposed to be some kind of investigation to try to find out whether the packages that were coming were supposed to be with narcotics, right? Because the individual who is the one that's coming in that's doing the shooting originally is part of the narcotics detective. But they saying that he was there that night with others, and then that night, if you go back and see the video I did, they were talking about how there was another unit there. But they never really specify who this unit was. But then they're saying this place-based investigation. And so they say they had deliberately misled the detective to target her home based on the fact that they were in their regentrification. And as I go on, you'll get a little bit more as to what I'm talking about. And so it said there was new court filings that was alleging that the investigation was part of a major gentrification project in the western part of Louisville. And then remember the old boyfriend was Jamarcus Glover, right? And he was supposed to have been the primary roadblock of that was somehow stopping all this regentrification in this western part of Louisville. Okay. It was supposed to have been him, right? So look how this tying in now. He's the major roadblock, right? So then she's tied to him somehow, and then they target her somehow. This is how this supposed to be working. And so, according to the Louisville Courier Journal, they were saying that the place-based investigation unit led by narcotics detectives would believe that they were after a violent drug and crime ring. Remember not too long ago they was talking about that they was offering the deal to say that, implicate her and then we'll let you go. And then there was sometimes reports of saying that she was a drug kingpin, a queen, and all that other stuff. That's because, again, as I was telling you in the original, when Tom Gessler was telling you the kind of stuff that they were trying to get people out, and then again, let's see how it all ties, right? So anyway, and so it goes on, it talks about the fact that that the whole situation that ended up happening is for the simple fact that like they say, the warrant that was supposed to be in that, but no one is ever going to say. That's why you think about it. Why Kenneth Walker didn't get charged, right? Think about it. He didn't get charged because, again, if he's the one that's shooting and then everything else is justified, then how did he get to walk up out of there? Matter of fact, to even prove that fact, how about this? I got this here for you. Check this out and I'll be right back.
Well, it seems to me as if this Attorney General cherry-picked information that he wanted to present to the jurors. We know that there were several residents who said they didn't hear the officers announce, but he chose to present the one who said they did. And when you understand that this AG is a Trump ally and reportedly engaged to the granddaughter of Moscow Mitch, it all makes sense. I find it offensive and appalling.
On the facts that were presented, Chief Ramsey, and again, this is what we've been told by the Attorney General of Kentucky. We haven't necessarily seen the documentation ourselves here. The Attorney General said that Kenneth Walker shot first and hit the officer Mattingly, Jonathan Mattingly, in the leg, and therefore the officers were justified in returning fire. How much does that explain to you? How sufficient is that for an explanation?
Well, first of all, let me start by saying this is a tough one. This isn't as clear-cut as some of the other cases that we have discussed. Listening to the Attorney General and based strictly on what he presented in his press conference yesterday, I understand why the two officers were not charged. If things happen the way it is being purported, the officers were fired upon. They were justified in returning fire. Now, that doesn't lessen the tragedy of Breonna Taylor's death at all. And certainly the third officer who blindly fired into the apartment should have been charged criminally. But the fact that one officer who was not only fired upon, was actually struck by gunfire, returned fire, I just don't see where a criminal charge would be presented there. As tragic as this whole thing is, I think one issue, though, that didn't get attention from the Attorney General is why they were there in the first place, the warrant itself. Now, the officers that executed the warrant were not the ones that applied for the warrant. But what was it that made anyone believe that either proceeds or instruments of a crime were present in her apartment? I mean, what was that based on? And that's information that needs to be made public.
Sergeant Dorsey, the system is horribly, tragically broken in that case, because Kenneth Walker, Breonna's boyfriend, is not the bad guy here. He thought somebody violent was breaking into their home. He says repeatedly they didn't identify themselves. He's legally allowed to have self-defense and to fire his gun. He owned it legally. So if he's justified in firing that shot, which he is legally, and the police are justified in firing back, the system's broken in that case.
Well, listen, I don't necessarily believe that the officers were justified in firing. They say that they announced and that they entered and he fired first. We know that they arrested him, or at least transported him and held him for several days after the shooting. And so I think if what they're saying is true, Kenneth Walker would be facing attempted murder charges against a police officer, those who entered a residence serving a legitimate search warrant and making an announcement that they're the police coming in, and that didn't happen. And so everything that we've heard put forth by this police department has been intellectually dishonest from start to finish. An officer fires 16 rounds without reassessing a threat, just willy-nilly shooting, and none of the bullets hit Kenneth Walker, 6 hit Breonna Taylor. It's hard to believe, and I think that this was designed to do what it did. Prosecutors can indict a ham sandwich, and in this case, they chose not to indict, and that's why there was scant information or very limited information given to a grand jury.
All right, so heard it from there, right? So the question had become, what was the whole purpose of that whole situation, right? Then they said this place-based investigation. If you go on the website and see this, you'll see that it's place-based investigation, which is PBI. The squad was developed to address systematically violent locations, complementing the LMPD. Existing focus was deterrent strategies on identifying and disrupting crime place networks. Networks include crime sites, place used by offenders that do not typically come to the attention of the police. The PBI will collaborate with other government and community partners to identify and eliminate violent facilitators. Is that what happened here? Is that what happened here? Is this the real undermine of this whole situation? Was there this that got the police involved? And that whole thing manifests itself because it's all about gentrification? Because remember, they told us that was named Jamarcus Glover was already arrested. And then they had the other homes, right? So this was like a sweep, right? But it had been stated that it was a soft target. That you was actually only going there to see because of a package. And then when you read the articles were saying that the fact that they went to the postmaster and the postmaster said that, you know what? Based on him being a postmaster, his jurisdiction, if you put the request in, we're going to do our investigation. We did. We determined there was no such thing. Right? And yet there was somebody else who they won't disclose who was also doing the investigation, who was also there that night. So is it possible was this here? Was it this? Was it this? The PBI? Was it them? So ain't that something after all that took place? It's like, as you heard in that clip, well, if Kenneth Walker was legit in what he did, and now the police were legit what they did, that left BREONNA to be charged to the game. So that's why they came with talking about the historic, payout, is because there was something else here that was never going to be disclosed, because this ain't just there. This going all across this country, unbeknownst to many of us. Right? What they talking about saying that, we all going back down south because we ain't got nowhere else to go. You understand? As the Tom Gessler said, they got the landlords that raising the rent. You can't afford the rent. Gotta get out of there. So was this part of what took place, or this was a hidden hand that nobody, because it just didn't make sense that, okay, we're going to talk about, okay, as she said, 16 shot, willy-nilly, somebody shooting, and the only thing that you're going to do in the press conference is talking about, well, this cat here who's shooting randomly that could have hit somebody in another apartment, and kind of find out that they white. Right? It was a woman who's pregnant with a child. So they're going to be charged on that. But here it is that y'all went in and BREONNA get gunned up with 6 shots. They said 5, but then when they did the press conference, it said 6. And said, oh, well, projectile. We won't say bullets. We're going to say projectile pieces went in her foot. Okay. So the thing is this true? Well, did it have anything to do with this? And if that's so, isn't that crazy that, can you believe that she might have lost her life because of somebody who got this initiative to try to get and using certain criteria to be able to go and target people and get them out of there so that they can build. Again, I think it's called Vision Russell, right? You look that up, Vision Russell, and it talks about how Vision Russell is a comprehensive community endorsed plan to redevelop the Beecher Terrace public housing complex, transform the area into a suitable mixed income, mixed use, multi-generational neighborhood with high quality service and schools, transporting and job opportunities. Wow, don't black people need some of that? Don't we need to live in the areas where that can say, no, that not us, or certain type. Again, remember going back in the beginning of the show, right? The ones that they deem that they grade A stamp you that, you know, Bruce. No, Prince, Bruce. No, you got to be one of them, right? You got to be one of them. You got to be the one that they talking about to do the right thing. You got to fit that type. And if you don't fit that type, then we ain't got no place for you, right? And so the key elements to their plan is to increase safety and security. Wait a minute. All the crime-ridden places, environment that black people have been redlining for eons since we done had a lot of us, our ancestors, well, I ain't gonna say ancestors, some could be ancestors, but our people fled up out of the South because of what was happening there. And then we got pushed in these areas and redlined in these areas and then packed us up in there and threw us up in the projects. They ain't got no jobs. Then they throw in drugs, breeded this whole environment, dog eat dog, and then say, hey, you guys out there killing each other. Really? Okay. So they want to build strong retails. They want to have service centers within the neighborhood. Wait, is this place a black person wouldn't want to live? People act like that the hoods are created by black people. No, black people moved in where white people didn't want to be no more. So who owned the place that the black people lived in the hood? That became slumlords, but nobody want to say they the slumlords, and then take all the tax base and put it in their neighborhood. Renters don't get nothing in tax, right? Game, man, all day. And so the thing was to improve community connectivity without you in it. Right? So anyway, man, I mean, that's, you know, what it is, man. Was this part of that? Was it? Did this have anything to do with this took place that Breonna Taylor lost her life for gentrification? Again, if you think I'm lying, go listen to the whole interview done by, what's his name, Jonathan Mattingly. It's going to be a little hard to listen to. You'll hear that somehow they try to, commingle two different conversations, but you're going to hear that place-based investigation. He's going to say it, and that's who was there with them that night. And then this came back out in July, and I was like, damn, wait a minute. Is that what happened here? And the way that you seen that press conference the other day, and, they put the brother in there, and he, I'm black, and my mother, and, I feel the pain. Really? But it's a dirty job. You understand? We get it. It's a dirty job. They say, cash rule around me, get the cream, dollar bill, y'all. Huh? We get it. But still, these payouts in exchange, that's a hard way for somebody, I had somebody even came to write and tell me, say, that's how black people try to get this come up. Try to get a sweet, nice deal, getting involved with the police. What, to be paralyzed? To be dead? I mean, if you want to get some money, don't you want to enjoy it? Like, damn, right? You know what it is, man. But you know how it go. Again, I'm the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. For y'all who are new over here, you can always go there, subscribe, comment, and don't forget to hit that notification button. I got another channel, Black Minds TV, as well. Trying to get that channel up because, again, they keep suppressing me, kind of keep me up out of the game. I don't understand why. What is that am I doing? I'm just telling what's already public information. Why are you mad at me for? What did you get? Damn, what kind of friend you gonna have if he don't tell you the truth? What kind of friend you want a yes person, somebody kissing and you like that kind of person? Sometimes somebody got to pull your coat tail and be like, hey man, look man, shit fucked up. You know what I mean? Cut shit out, man. Anyway, we're gonna get one more break in here. We'll be right back. Check this out. One more again, want to tell each and every one of you, thank you for coming in here, looking at the live broadcast for Black Minds News Report. I'm your host, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and this has been another Black Minds News production. Again, like, subscribe, share, comment. You can even put in there, this is EEOC over here. You can say, Mr. Blow, I think you full of shit. It's all good, man. You know what I'm saying? We all have our differences, but again, we all got our different backgrounds and how, things, just life is. Some people could be cut from the same cloth and feel entirely different from me. Some could be on the other side and kind of understand and know. But again, you know what I'm saying? We've been here from the beginning. Some of us go back like 4 flats in the Cadillac, but you gotta understand, you know what I'm saying? We still on 4 flats with the Cadillac. But y'all develop, ain't trying to throw no kind of life preserver or nothing, huh? You gonna try to run into the ain't no Cadillac, huh? We already got 4 flats. You want us with no Cadillac too? That's all right though. But again, to my next show, y'all. You know how I do it over here. To the next show.